My name is Elizabeth. My name is Nozibele Kamganemayaba. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new to this channel, please make sure that you subscribe and join the rest of the family. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. Now guys, our timelines recently have been filled with graduation pictures. Congrats to all the graduates. Guys, this is a huge milestone, and I know some of you are first-time graduates in your family, so this is a big deal, okay? I just want to send my heartfelt congratulations to everyone that is graduating around this time. This is remarkable. I hope, you know, in between all the celebrations, you get some time to just reflect and realize this actually happened, because I know when you were struggling with that course, when you were struggling with that module, there was a time where you were like, oh my goodness, is this actually going to happen? And now that it has happened, I'm so happy for you. This video is actually inspired by all of that, because it allowed me also to just reflect on the time when I was a first-time graduate. While that time was filled with so much excitement, but there was also somewhat like anxiety of what is going to happen next. What are the next steps? Where am I going to start getting a job? Because there is pressure, you know. We know when we were studying, when we were in our second year, last year, third year, and everyone at home is like, oh, okay, so you're going to get a job and start taking care of everyone. Now that has happened in terms of graduation, the expectation is high, okay? So I just wanted to give, I guess, some tips, some things that you can think about as you start thinking about the next step and what this means. So firstly, a lot of you are going to start thinking now, do I study further or do I get a job? Now, that is very hard to determine, because it also depends on what kind of, you know, circumstances you're coming from. For example, with me, I did not think I had a choice, you know, in terms of studying further. Or should I say, I thought to myself, studying further will definitely come secondary. The first thing now that I had my undergrad was to get a job. You know, I don't have time to get post-grad and all of that stuff. I need to get a job. And then if time is willing, then I'll do my post-grad. I don't want to lie though, if I could go back into that time, I wish I had dedicated more time in studying further and investing more when it comes to my post-grad, rather than rushing and getting a job. So I can't really give a definite answer. It depends on what the current circumstances are. And then if you are someone that wants to get a job, I guess that's where I'm going to focus my video on, because that's the route that I took. Immediately after getting my undergrad, I started working. The first thing that I'm going to say regards to finding a job is the market is very tough. Okay, guys, the market is very tough. The stats among young people in South Africa when it comes to unemployment is ridiculously high. It's unacceptable. So I guess the one thing that I wanted to say is, when you're looking for a job, you need to diversify your search, all right? Rather than saying, I'm looking for a particular job, rather ask yourself, where can my expertise be used? Because that will kind of open more doors for you. And we need to get away from this traditional mentality that, for example, if you qualified as a doctor, then you only need to work at a hospital. Guys, times are changing, okay? I know doctors that after their ComServe, after their community service, they never went back to, you know, to serve as a formal doctor. They went into medical research. Others went into entrepreneurship. within the medical field, but they did not go and serve as a doctor at a hospital or at a clinic. Another example is when it comes to me, I qualified as a marketer, but I've been able to use that marketing background in so many different industries. For example, I've never set foot in an advertising agency, which is more of a natural, I guess, transition from a marketing degree to go into that industry. But I used it more in the manufacturing industry. And then I was able to also complement my marketing background with a postgrad in development studies, which is how I'm using it now in the development space. So you need to think about how you can diversify your expertise, your experience, your academic background to kind of cater for so many different industries rather than sticking to one job and focusing on one job. The other example that I'm going to use is, do you see how the teaching industry has changed over the years, right? So people, for example, that qualified with a BSc, right? They do that teaching course for a year, and then they go out there to go and teach biology, for example, right? People that qualified in geology, right? Not going into that field in particular and going into schools and teaching geography, for example. So that is how people have been able to change the landscape rather than sticking to one industry, rather than sticking to one job. So that's the number one thing that I'm going to ask you. Diversify your background, your qualification, your expertise. It is very much needed in the world that is constantly changing. The second thing that I'm going to touch on is this. It is very unlikely that you're going to get your dream job as a first job, okay? Let us be very clear. It is very unlikely that you're going to get your dream job as your first job, okay? I started from the bottom. I had this whole misconception that I'm going to get a first job and I'm going to get 20,000 Rand, okay, as my first pay. That did not happen, okay? I actually started as an in-service trainee. I'm getting paid 17 Rands an hour, right? And guys, please understand, once again, different qualification, different experiences, just take what you can. But I'm just bringing the realities of what is there so that you don't get shocked. Do not underestimate those graduate in training programs, because most of the time that is your entryway into a job. Okay, those 12 months where you're getting paid 10,000 Rand, 8,000 Rand, 15,000 Rand in some industries, after 12 months, that is where they get their next pool of employees rather than getting someone from outside. So, and during that time, it's actually a perfect opportunity for you to build up the experience that you need. So one of the things that I want you to look into while you're in, let's say, that graduate program is how you stand out, okay? Is how you sell yourself. What is your competitive advantage? Because most probably there's about, what, 5, 6 of you in that program, and realistically, they might not take all of you. So you need to think about what is going to make you stand out. One thing for sure about me, when I was in that program, there was about 3 of us. I am able to sell myself, okay? I am able to position myself very well. I am able to read, okay, who has influence here that I can attach myself to kind of have some kind of influence in terms of who gets employed or where are the opportunities, who they can talk to so that I can get a job. That's how I got my first job, okay? My mentor became my boss at the end of the day. And to bring you context also, my thing was also very much controversial because I was still a student when I got employed, and I was up against people that already had their degrees, their honors degrees. And when I asked my boss, like, why did you take a chance with me? Whereas there were people that were more qualified than me. And he said it was how you sold yourself, the hard work, how you put yourself out there, that I knew that this is a person that I worked with, despite the qualifications that might have been there with the other candidates. So be able to sell yourself during that process. Be able to position yourself very well. Guys, that period is not for people that want to stand in the corner and wait to be called, or wait for something to be explained to them. That's when you start knocking on people's doors. Can I help with something? Is there anything you would like me to do? Sell yourself, okay? Then the third thing that I wanted to speak about is salary negotiations, okay? Now guys, I am 13 years in the game, but I'll be very honest that I still have not mastered this part, okay? I still struggle very much so with this part. But it is very important, because if you set yourself from the word go, that is going to translate in terms of your career. Ne? I messed it up from the start, and that's why it's still a problem to this day, okay? So let me make an example. So when they offered me my first job, they said to me, okay, we are going to offer you 8,000 rand, okay? 8,000 rand, 8.5. And then at the completion of your undergrad, we will review and we'll negotiate further, okay? At the time, okay, the graduates, and then the graduates that had e-honors and their degrees, their entry level was 10,000 rand or 11, around 10,000 or 11,000. And the whole idea was, no kalokwena, you have not finished your qualification. So my assumption was, when I finish, they're either going to match, to where the graduates are, or it's actually going to be above, because now I'm permanent. Ne? So I accept the offer without any negotiation or anything like that. But also because I was desperate. Here's a job. I don't have, because I thought I did not have the right to negotiate. I should just be thankful that I have a job. I've been offered a job. So I accepted it. Then a few months down the line, 6 months later, I graduated. Then I got my undergrad. Then my boss started being quiet. I'm like, okay, he's a bit quiet. He knows that I graduated. So the salary issue is not happening. He's not saying anything. Then I went to approach him, scared to death. I went to approach him saying, okay, I've graduated 6 months ago. We had said that, we are going to revise my salary and think about, where to from here. Then he said, oh, okay, no problem. I'll be in touch. Ne? Okay. Few days after that, he comes to me. And guys, by the way, I still remember we were sharing an open plan. By the way, he was going to another meeting and he had a letter, right? I guess it's that thing, it's the letter that is informing me of my increase. And he basically said, yep, here's your letter. Yeah. And that was it. I get excitedly, I'm opening the letter and it says there's 1,000 rand increase. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, 1,000 rand increase again, you need to take into consideration how much of that is going to be taxed, and what other things are going to be pushed by this sudden increase. And then at the end of the day, I don't even think that I got 600 rand out of that 1,000 rand increase. And then still, I did not think I had the opportunity or the right to negotiate, because it was in the manner of how the letter was even given to me, right? So that kind of set my growth in terms of my salary for the next 4 years in that company. I think by the time I got out of the company, I was getting paid, and this was 4 years down the line, I was getting paid 15,000 rand, which was still way below what the graduates were getting paid, and how much were the guys that came with me in the program were getting paid. So I felt I missed an opportunity where I could have negotiated my salary based on the market rate, based on the experience that I have, on anything. So when it comes to salary negotiations, I know this is very hard. Guys, we come from difficult backgrounds. We don't have time to be negotiating salaries, okay? Tina sifuna imali at the end of the day so that we can take care of our families. But if you get this right, it's going to set you up for life. So how do you negotiate the salaries? Okay, the first thing that you need to look at, okay, what is the benchmark for qualification and also for your field? Okay, there's a benchmark for everything, and also based on the location that you are at, the experience that you have, the kind of industry that you're in. Even a benchmark for being a marketing assistant, guys, there is a benchmark out there. You just need to research. Just need to do your research. I just qualified now as an engineer. Okay, as an engineer in Port Elizabeth, in the manufacturing industry, with no experience, entry level. What is a benchmark? That is a starting point for you. Okay, 20,000 rand, and then the guys are like 18,000. What you need to understand is the first offer from the employer is negotiable. They're expecting you to negotiate. They already have a bracket in terms of, this is the minimum that we're willing to offer. This is how much we're going to or we're willing to go to in terms of negotiations. So it is always advisable from my side, take your time. Okay, take your time. You don't need to respond immediately. Take your time. You've already done your research, and then let's say you return it and say, okay, thank you for the offer. I am willing to negotiate a 5% or an 8% from what has been offered, based on the industry, based on my experience, whatever the case may be. Okay, because you would have done your research. That is the only advice I have when it comes to salary negotiations. Now, guys, I'm still paying for that decision, and I'm still learning, okay? And I don't want you to go through that. Please learn from me. Now, the next thing that I wanted to speak about is managing your finances as a person that just started working, and also managing black tax. Now, guys, I'm one person that has always been very transparent that I made actually bad decisions when I started working, like really bad decisions that I'm still paying even today. Okay, for example, beginning of this year, I told you guys that I bought my mom's house. I'm still paying it off, and I don't know why I felt in such a hurry to buy the house, that I made like silly mistakes. I made silly mistakes, and I regret it, and I don't want anyone to go through that, please. Okay, so when I received my my quarterly statement a couple of months ago. So I thought to myself, okay, let me just look, where am I at, how much have I paid, and how much is still outstanding, and what is the interest, what is the outstanding loan term, and all of that. I was so heartbroken and disappointed to learn that, let's say, for example, my mom's house was 200,000. This is an example. When I looked at the statement, I still owed 200,000. Okay, I still owe 200,000, and this is after 8 years. And when I started calculating like the amount that I've paid so far, it's about 200,000 also. Meaning that the amount that I have paid is equivalent to the amount that I'm still owing. And when I looked at the loan term and what is still outstanding, by the time that I finish off that house, I would have paid 4 times the value of the house. Meaning by the end of the loan term, I would have paid about 800,000 rand for a 200,000 rand house. 200,000 rand house. Okay, so I was like, no, guys, and I still have about what, 15 years to go. And when I went back, and I was like, I should not have made that decision, because at that point in time, I had taken e-clothing accounts and I paid them badly. And when I wanted now to make like a good investment, which the house was a good investment, yes, I was able to afford it. But the bottom line was my credit was bad. So be very careful. Yes, you have excess amount of money that is going to be available to you, but how you use it is going to determine how you are set up for life. Do you get what I mean? And it's things now that I'm only starting to learn, already married, affecting me now, that I wish it didn't affect me, but it's the reality of it all, right? So when the bank looked at my credit score and my credit record, they were like, yeah, you can afford it, but then you are just not good at paying off your debt, okay? So there's two things here. It's either you wait it off until all of these things are cleared out of your credit record, or if you want to proceed, then we are going to give you this house at a very high interest rate, right? Higher than normal. I think I got it at about 11% or 12% if I'm not mistaken, which is ridiculously high, okay? And then the other thing is that we are going to extend your loan term. So in this case, a typical loan term for over a bond is about 20 years, and I think I've got about 25, 30 if I'm not mistaken. 25, I think it was 25. So that is why I am still stuck with like still a lot, when it comes to the outstanding long term. So I know there's pressure that endlini, they've been waiting for this moment where you are going to change, the narrative of where you come from. You're going to buy your parents a house. They deserve a house for all the sacrifices that they've made for you. But before you make these big financial decisions, please don't rush them. Please don't rush them. Even if it's a car, don't rush that. Rather consider, okay, is it possible that I save to buy, let's say, a second-hand car because I'm a first-time driver, rather than going off for a new car and paying 5,000 Rand a month, because cars are also very expensive. Can I just add? Okay. Is it wise to rather save to renovate the existing house, or do you want to wait it off for about 5 years to build a really, really good deposit for a new house? Those are the type of things that you just need to consider. Whatever you decide, I'm all for that and I encourage it, but take your time. Okay, take your time, because you also don't want these things, rather than being a blessing and they come from from the depths of your heart, they start now becoming more of a burden. Because that's how I felt now. I was getting all depressed and I'm like, I can't be stuck with this house for the next 15 years. I cannot. And it's ridiculous that I need to pay 800,000 Rand for a 200,000 Rand house, So Usku, being the person who's more experienced, he used to work for the bank for many, many years. He knows the system inside out. So we were able to work out a system that is going to work for us to kind of recover all of those years and pay off that house more quicker. So what I'm trying to say is you just need to be able to manage your finances very well from the start. Because I can't be unreasonable and say you must avoid debt. You can't do that, because it can actually also bite you. When you want to buy a house, when you want to buy, when you want to make a big purchase, then the bank says, but hang on a sec, we don't have any record of you ever, paying off something. There's another person that actually went through the same thing. They never had any debt and she thought this was a good thing. This is all great. Then the bank is not going to give her any hassles when she wants to buy the house. And then the bank said, hang on a sec, we can't approve because you don't have any credit record. You've never had any accounts. We can't base it on anything. So you need to build up that credit record, have a credit card, have a clothing account, but making sure that you pay those very well. Okay, now I know some of you have read it on social media. People are like, yes, what's that clothing shop that they like very much? Urage, okay? Urage nyamthanda. Ningambhadala Urage. Yes, when I can, be very careful of those Urage accounts because they come back to bite you in the butt. when you want to make those house purchases, those car purchases, then the bank is like, hang on a sec, there's a Rage account that you opened while you were still a student and you didn't pay off well. What do you do in that case? So be very, very, very careful of your finances. Other than that, guys, I wish you well over this new chapter of your life. As challenging as it is all worth it. It is all part of growing up, of navigating this life thing. But also, guys, once again, this has all been based on my own experience. It might be different, but I'm very much sure that there are, you know, pieces here and there that you may be able to pick up for your own journeys. So until next time, guys, bye.